I'm Megan, and I'm here with Mike and Matt to talk about selecting a single disc clutch for your car. So Matt, what do you need to know about my car to get me set up in a single disc clutch?
Megan, we're going to start off with one of the often overlooked pieces of the puzzle, often forgotten about, and that is expectations, what the customer wants to expect from their clutch. Do they want it to drive like it came off the showroom floor and be very smooth? In which case you probably want to look at an organic disc, or if it wants to be a little bit more robust and crisp, maybe they are going to look at a metallic disc. Expectations are very important, so it's always good to pick the customer's brain, figure out what they really want from the clutch. The great part is that here at Ram, we've got you covered no matter what the expectations are. We've got 4 distinctly different styles of unit, starting off with the Muscle Car kit, HDX kit, Power Grip kit, and then ultimately the Power Grip HD, which is the most aggressive of the single disc units.
Once we get that out of the way and we really know what they expect or what they want from the clutch system, then we can dive into really what we call the load factors. These are the items that are going to affect the clutch's ability to hold, and that's going to be how big a tire does it have, or is it a sticky tire? How's the car geared? What's the transmission ratios? In some cases we're going to want to know that. And then the power level, of course, we want to know. But the big thing is that the power level is not the end all. You know, a lot of times we get calls, you probably had them, where somebody says, oh, I've got a 500 horsepower car, what clutch do I need? Well, we really need to know these other items before we can make a good recommendation.
So let's ask about some sample applications. Mike, example number 1 is a 1960s muscle car with simple bolt-ons and around 400 horsepower.
Okay, and Megan, this is probably what we would typically call a driver car, somebody that's going to be pretty much driving on the street. It could be a restoration car, an old muscle car. It could even be a later model car that somebody's just added a few little items onto. Probably going to drive it, what we like to call spirited driving, so you know they're not going to just put around in it. So they need something that's a little more aggressive in terms of what it will hold. However, the drivability is real important. So in this situation, we're probably going to look at either a muscle car kit or an HDX kit. Now both of those are going to use a higher clamp load pressure plate, but the big difference is going to be in the clutch and the disc itself. On the muscle car kit, we use a heavy duty, almost like a stock disc, but a heavy duty center section. It's double sprung with some real big springs. That's going to absorb a lot of shock when the clutch engages, and there's also a good amount of marcel or squish in the disc, which will also engage that shock as you're taking off. That's going to give you a very nice, smooth engagement. Now, if that same car is going to get driven a little harder, or if they tell you they're going to drive a little harder, we can jump up to the HDX disc, which has got an 8-spring hub, a little bit beefier in the center, still good absorption and good drivability, a little bit more aggressive friction material on the disc. So it's not going to be quite as smooth engaging as the muscle car would be, but yet still a very good drivable combination.
And example number 2, Matt. It's a Mustang around 500 horsepower, mostly for the street. It's got a rear gear change to 3.73 and sticky tires.
Well, in a case like that, Megan, we're going to probably look at maybe a Power Grip unit. In this Fox body application with a 373, a little grippy tire, maybe a little bit more spirited driving, the Power Grip is going to be a great choice because it has a dual-sided disc. It's got organic premium facings on one side, metallic on the other, has a higher clamp load pressure plate, like a lot of our units, and actually something that's often overlooked by some of the other options out there on the market is the hub. The hub is a heavy-duty 8-spring hub that you can see actually has 4 encapsulated springs in urethane, which actually raise the rate of the spring to absorb additional power levels and maybe even a little bit more aggressive driving style. So the hub gives you a little bit more insurance than maybe some of the other options out there on the market don't give you. So, and they're good to about 550 horsepower or so.
And our last example, Mike. The customer has an older Camaro, and it's going to swap in an LS engine and a 6-speed. It'll be about 600 horsepower, and it will definitely see some track time.
Okay, so now we know we've got a car that's going to get driven pretty hard. We've already established she's going to take it to the track. So usually if we have a situation where somebody has a car they're taking to the track, we're going to try to go at least one level up on the clutch from normal. But I think that normally what we would ask for here would be a Power Grip HD kit, which is going to be very similar to the standard Power Grip, but now you're going to have the metallic facing on both sides of the disc. And again, it's going to have that 8-spring hub with the half encapsulated springs. And that 8-spring hub is just a whole lot tougher than if you look at some of the other units on the market, use a 6-spring hub with the smaller springs. And they just can't really absorb the shock from that very aggressive friction material on the clutch disc.
Now, in this case, Mike, this is where we kind of, I find that we all get into that line where you're at a very aggressive single disc, so we'd be kind of remiss if we didn't talk about a dual disc at this point, even though we're really primarily focusing on the single disc here.
Yeah, absolutely. And with the dual, you get into that zone where you're able to use a clutch that's going to have a less aggressive friction material. We can stay with organic in that 600 horsepower application, not have to go full metallic, have something that's going to drive a lot better on the street, but it's still going to be able to handle that power level up to around 650 horsepower.
But if they're seeing some track time, we would not recommend that organic material, correct?
It really would depend how much, if they're somebody who's going, every other week to the racetrack, then yeah, we're probably going to move them into metallic either way. But if somebody that's just going to the track once or twice a year to just kind of see what the car will do, then at that 600 level, I think you'd be safe with the organic friction.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for this insight. This helps us to better help our customers when selecting a clutch for their application. If you guys have any questions, you can always email us at ramtech@ramclutches.com or visit our website.